Hello, everybody. Welcome to Canadian Maker Project. My name is Ron. Once again, we are in the studio here because this is going to be involving a lot of computer talking first. So this is not going to be a making video yet. I want to first talk about something that I've run across that a lot of people, some people know about it, some people don't. And I really think everybody should look into getting one of these anytime they're looking to do some making. It is a great little piece of hardware. It's called the Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi is a full computer running on Linux. It's open sourced by the Pi community. If you want to know more about it, you can go to raspberrypi.org, and all the information is there, including software that you can run with it, like Raspbian, which is kind of like a clone between Windows and Mac, and just combined it. It's more of a Linux version of Windows. So if you're looking for a small computer, now this thing cannot run video games or anything like that, but it is there if you ever want to run anything like that. Run like little programs and such. What I'm using this for is Octopi. Octopi is a program that allows you to talk to your printer while using a device like this. Here, let me bring this the website up here for you. I'm going to bring myself up to the corner here. Let's bring up the one. There we go. So Octopi. Octopi is a printing software that will allow you to download their software into the Pi and will allow you to do your own type, will allow you to connect it to your printer so you can communicate for your printer wirelessly. This also includes controlling your print, putting your print on there, and getting it all set up. So I'm going to go through the process of first putting this on the Raspberry Pi. Then we will reach the program where we will install it. So first of all, I want to take you to the first program I do always recommend everyone to get. This is called the SD formatter for Windows, but you can get it for any of the other for Mac too. So there's the Mac version. What this allows you to do, it allows you to wipe out your memory card, depending on the size it is, and put on the flavor, of course, of whatever you're going to put on the card. This is great for wiping out cards if you have a card that's kind of like janky and it's not working right. You can run this program and it will help you unlock that chip and do that type of stuff. This one right here is a class 10. I don't recommend anything below class 10. So class 4, class 1, class 5, they are slower than molasses. And it takes forever for Octopi to load up. I recommend a class 10. They're very cheap nowadays. 16 gig or bigger. You can go up to 32. I don't know why you need 32, but I do see reasons to get 32, and I'll go into a little bit more about that as we go on through this through the project. So why don't we first get this SD card formatted and get it ready to go. Now I've already formatted this once already, so it's going to look a little different. The program that SD formatter uses is this new program here, which I'm just going to minimize this out of my way. So right here, you can see it selected the card. It's the G drive, which is what I want to select. Make sure it is your SD card it's selecting. Make sure you do not select the drive that you have your programs listed on. Now, because I am using Windows, it could be different on the Mac, and I do apologize for your Mac users, but it's basically the same scenario. Make sure it's selected your SD card. Then you can do a quick format, which just wipes out the card and leaves all the files on there, and then they just get wiped out as they go on. Or you can do what's known as an override format. Overwrite, I should say. This will write just ones and zeros to the card. I prefer a 1 to 0 write rather than to do a quick write, but in this case, I don't need that, so I'm just going to do a quick format. So it asks you, do you want to delete the data? You'd say yes, and then it gives you your card information. Granted, it's now done. The next program we're going to need to use is called, I'll bring up my windows here. Win32 Disk Imager. You can get this off of SoundForge. This program will allow you to put the file onto your card. So you would first download Octoprint from the Octoprint download and setup screen, which I'm on right now. If you're running a Raspberry Pi Zero W, it is not recommended. If you're also running a Raspberry Pi 3, it will not boot. 3 Plus, it will not boot. I'm just running the Raspberry Pi 3, not the Plus, just the regular 3. So if you were running the Raspberry Pi 3, you might have to download this version right here. That's a 3 Plus. If you're not running the 3 Plus, then you can just download Octoprint 0.14. And I'll get a little bit into talking a little bit more about the Pi right now, since we're at the stage right now where we are looking which Pi we may have. Now, with this Pi itself, it is, I've already explained that it's an ARM processor, but what I haven't explained is that this is wireless and this supports Bluetooth. Those are some key features. If you have a Raspberry Pi 2 or Raspberry Pi 1, they do not support wireless. You have to get a wireless adapter, plug it in, and then you have to go into Raspbian and set that up. I always recommend going with a Raspberry Pi 3. They're a lot easier to get your hands on. And right now, for 30 to 50 bucks, this is what this thing cost me. It's worth the money. If you want to, you can print your own case for it. Not really needed, but it is kind of fun since we are 3D printers. I got this way before I got into 3D printing, so this was used more for a video system. I was setting up Plex in my house because, well, I got Plex. I want to play with Plex and see what it's all about. But now I'm getting off the subject. But even makers like to play with stuff like this. So, but to get into some of the information here about this, it does have an Ethernet port, so you don't have to worry if you don't have wireless. You can always go Ethernet. But if you got wireless, there's a few extra steps we're going to have to take. People, if you got wired, you may not want to hear this, but this might be of interest, in case you ever have to go into it. So, I've already downloaded 0.14, I should say. So let's get that loaded up. So we're going to use WinImager32, like the program I just showed you on SoundForge. Download it, install it. Once it's installed, you'll be greeted with this screen. Make sure you're selecting the right device. You don't want to accidentally selecting your own hard drive and wiping that out. So we click this little icon here to go through the directory. Now, I made a special directory to have it in, which is just on my desktop. And there's the image file. So I'm just going to open that image file. Then I will click on write. And this does take this can take up to 2 to 3 minutes to write the program on here. Well, let's do it anyways. And it'll ask you to continue. You say yes, make sure there's right directory, and just let it go. Once the write is successful, you just hit OK. Now you might have some window that pops up that says your disk isn't formatted, it can't see it, just kind of ignore it, don't worry about it. What we are going to do is we're going to go into it again, and I want to show you a couple of things that you might want to know about, since you're going to be greeted with that blank screen that has no drive in it. But if you go into it, you'll see this screen. And you'll see all this. Something I would recommend that you download now would be something called Notepad++. If you already have it, great, because you're going to have to do some configuration for you people that are wireless. The reason for this is there is no way to set up the program without knowing your router information or anything like that. So first of all, I want you to go into your routers and find out what is your router's SSID name. So what you named the router. You know, when you log into any type of network, it says this network, and it'll say like a name for it. You want to find out your name for your network, and you want to find out what is your network password. If you know those things, then for your WIPS2 or WEP or whatever you use for your security, you're going to need to know that to get this working. So first thing we're going to go into octopi.network.txt, and I'm going to be opening this up in a program called Notepad++. So Notepad++ gives us all the information. So that network file gives you all the information you're going to need to know. It also allows you to do a command in here. So since I am this command right here, let me pull it down here. Since this is my command network right here, this is what I need to know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting in the information here. There is something for the heads up for your Mac OS users. So please read this. All this information tells you exactly what you need to set up if you're on Wi-Fi. If you're not on Wi-Fi, then this has no meaning to you whatsoever. I'm just going to explain a little bit more about this. So here you put in whatever your router name is, and here's where you would put in that password. Make sure you remove this, and this hashtag sign, or otherwise known as a pound sign. If you don't remove it, it won't work. Remember, do not remove the doubles. Okay? It says here, right in here, remove single pounds in the configuration. Don't remove the double, just the single. So, like I said, this would be removed, that would be removed, and that would be removed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in this information. Since it's going to be visible, I am actually going to do this offline, and we'll be back in a few seconds. Okay, so we got the Octopi plugged in. It's ready to go, as you just witnessed. So first things first is we're going to go and SSH into this. A program I like to use is something called PuTTY. PuTTY is a way that you can communicate to your Raspberry Pi using Linux code. So what we're going to go in there, we're just going to go and change the password, because generic password for Raspberry is the same for all of them, which is Raspberry, and the login name is Pi. Yeah, just a little simple. So why don't we go in, we're going to copy over the information that tells us to use octopi.local to find your Raspberry Pi. If you happen to know its IP address, you can do it that way too. I just don't want to reveal my IP address as of yet, which is going to get revealed in a second anyway, so really can't do anything about that. Okay, so we're greeted with this screen right here. Log in as. So what we're going to do, we're going to log in. So I'm going to use the word Pi. Now it's going to ask you for the password. Password, like I said, is we're going to be Raspberry. So that's SPBERRY. Now we wait for a few seconds. And it'll bring you into the screen telling you all the information, where it's located, and everything else. So, yeah. Nothing I can do about it, but yeah, there's the Raspberry Pi. So what we want to do is we want to change this password. So we're going to go into it, and we're going to change the password for the Raspberry. The way you do that is by typing in PASSWD. There's another code you can use, which goes into a graphical interface. That is the configuration file. This does the same thing, so you don't really need to go into configuration to do all that. And honestly, in the configuration, we're not changing anything. We want everything to stay the same, so I wouldn't recommend going into configuration. So let's go past WD. So it just asks us what's our current password. For a new password, I usually recommend something simple that you would remember, but mix it with letters and numbers. You can even use a symbol if you like. But remember that this password, you have to remember there is no way to recover this. The only way to recover is by wiping out the card again and redoing this whole process. So come up with something that's simple that you remember. So my password's now been changed, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the unit to reboot. So sudo is known as super user command. So I'm using super user command, sudo, sudo, and I'm going to tell the system to reboot. Just make sure that everything works well. It does take a few seconds for the command to initiate. I'm not going to see any response on here. I might see like an error pop up soon. Like if I do this and click on here. See, so network connection caused by the connection being aborted. So automatically the program has now closed itself and locked me out. So now let's log into our Octopi and get it all set up. So like again, you just want to use your commands to get in there. So I'm just going to minimize myself a little bit more so you guys can see what I'm typing in here. So I'm going http://octopi.local. If this doesn't work for you, write down your IP address. You can also log in that way. It does take a few seconds for it to go in, and once it goes in, you'll be greeted with a welcome screen. So this is your first setup screen. So this is where you would set up all your controls and everything else. So you guys start. Thank you. So we hit next. Access control. This is where you would set up your username. So I'm going to use CMP. I'm going to make a password for this. I'm not going to use the old password. That's what it's asking me if I want to use it. Let's use, yeah. I don't recommend using the same password you used for your Raspberry Pi. If you are going to use that same password, make sure that password is very secure. If you don't want to reuse it, change this password to something else. Since this can be accessed offline, online, that means, say if I'm out and about and I want to check my print, because I'm just out at a restaurant or whatever, and I set it like a 10-hour print go, and I know that I'm going to be out for a couple hours, and I just want to check and look at it. I can log into my phone, turn on a video, and go, okay, it's still doing good. And that's something I'm going to show you guys how to look at too. So I'm going to keep access control enabled. This way I can always access it whenever I'm out. The passwords do not match. They should match. Okay, there we go. So we have access control enabled. Next. So you can skip this step, or you can set up profiles. I don't do any profile setup here. I've tried it already and it didn't work for me, so I just go, yes, skip, next. So here's where you would name your printer. So I like to call my printer what it is, so I know which printer I'm using. It's a CR10. And it's not a wrap, it's just I'm just going to call it CR10 for the sake of it being a CR10. Now the build and bed volume. This is where it gets fun. So it is a rectangular build. Lower level or center, you can tell it where your homing is. Mine's off to lower left. Mine is 300 by 300 by 400 height. Then you can set your access, your hot end extruder, if you happen to know what the diameter of the nozzle you're using. It's 0.4. But yeah, once you got all that done, you just hit next. You hit finish. Please reload. Reload now. So now it's resetting itself. And if you notice there's an update available, get the update. Updating is one of the best things you can do for your system. It keeps it up to date, and then you don't have to worry about things going weird in the print. While this is updating, I'll be right back, and we'll be able to communicate with the printer. I'm going to plug in the printer right now. Well, actually, I'll wait for this to finish. So right now it's just writing all the information that needs to be written to the card. Okay, the update is now complete. So we can now close this. Oh. Saying we have to refresh. So while the server is restarting. Oh, so we're back into the Octopi. Now we're going to go set up connectivity check. Enable connectivity check. Next. Plug in blacklist, which is what it's going to stay. Yeah. Enable. This just puts like blacklists of people that might try to ping into your network that are not allowed to look at your unit and everything else. So with this, it knows that I have here is a tool. That is your extruder. What temperature do you want your hot end at? And this is for your bed. So depending on the bed and everything, you would set that up here. Why don't we set up also the camera? Yes, there's a way to view this. I was talking about camera. So you can buy a cheap little webcam like this. This is the C270. Costs about $20. Let's go set it up and get it wired to the bed. Okay, so now we're back at the system here where I can actually get this all set up. So let's show you what it looks like on my screen here. So my control shows my screen now. So there's my video. I can actually see it printing. So that's going to be nice. You can also control your controls right here for this control panel. So let's first communicate to this. So we're going to hit connect. So I can now see it. So I move my extruder one side or move it back. Move the plate. Or I can move my height down. or up. So let's home everything. Yes, there's a little bit of filament in the system, so that's probably what you're seeing, the little string. You can even see like if it's stringed out or not on you or not. Okay, let's home this one. And there it is, all homed. Another thing we can do, we can look at temperature. We can set your temperature here to tell you what temperature you want it to be. So say if I have it, say if I want my tool to be at 180, I can type in 180, or I can type in 200, whatever I want it at. So let's say 180 by 60. So I want my bed to be at 60. I'm doing 180. I hit click, click, and there. Now I can monitor when my bed will be ready, because these two will go up and match that to tell me when it's ready. G-code viewer will show you your G-code as you're going through your G-code. Terminal will give you all the code that's going on right now. So this is all the code it's sending over to my printer. Time lapse, we can even do time lapse if you wanted to. I have a time lapse video I'm going to throw in on the end of this. But basically it just shows me building one item, and there's going to be music in the background. So, and the music is from no copyright sound. So NSC. So there should be no copyright flags or anything like that on there. In time lapse, we can change it to whatever we want to. So that's basically a coverage of the printer. Just let you know that when you're slicing your files, you just put this G-code in here, and you can make a list of G-code. You can have also all your time lapse stored on here and be able to access them at any time. So I'm going to show you what a time lapse looks like, but this is just a rundown of the system itself. As you can see right now, my nozzle's ready, and my bed's almost ready, but I'm going to turn those off, because I'm not ready to print anything as of yet, Jack. And even if you have like PLA, you can even keep it off if you're doing PLA. You know, save a little bit of energy. But anyways, I want to thank you all for watching. And if you did like this video, you know what to do. Click yes. If not, click no. But also, share this video with your friends. Anyone that you know that's getting into 3D printing might want to know more about using Octoprint as a way to communicate to your printer. It just makes a lot of things a lot easier. Now, right now you can't see the printer on the network, but once you get it set up, you can always set it up to be online, so that even if you're out and about, you can still check on your prints. And that's a different video I will not be getting into. There's a lot of ways to unlock your router that you'd have to look up on its own. If I do find a video that's really good for unlocking routers, I will definitely post it in the notes below. So thank you so much, and get making.